Hey guys, finally finished Leviathan Wakes, which is our Bookeclub book of the month that we were reading on the book club. If you haven't joined there, I'd love you to join. It's been a whole lot of fun talking with everybody on the book club. Follow the link in description and you'll be able to get there. Thank you so much for the people that have joined me and that read Leviathan Wakes with me. I really enjoyed it. It was a very good book. I went ahead and I did tabs for all the different spaceships, and then there's one Bible reference. I put that in blue. I thought it was really cool how these two guys, James S.A. Corey is actually two guys writing as one author under a pen name, created this wonderful book, a couple hundred years in the future, really realistic sci-fi, and then the fear of being in space, and then the idea of us moving out into the planets, moving to Mars, moving to the moon, moving to the asteroid belt, so we can give water to the people that live on the asteroid belt and do all those amazing things that we do, and the Epstein drive, and just the really creative ways that they designed this universe. It was really, really enjoyable. So we follow two main characters through the whole story, and they alternate chapters. You've got Detective Miller, who lives on Ceres, which is a space station on the asteroid belt. And then you follow James Holden, who is the XO of the Canterberry, which is an ice hauler. They go to Saturn's rings, pick up ice, and then move back to the space station, and they distribute water through the asteroid belt. And it's really neat to see a lot of the day-to-day life. On Ceres, the Detective Miller, he works for an Earth-based company that just does security. It's not the police force. They don't work for the government. They're a company that does security based in the asteroid belt. So there's not a lot of moderation. Some things are really dirty and really crooked. Some things in the space station, you know, there's a lot of racism where the asteroid belt people, called the Belters, are considered, you know, low and scum because their joints have all elongated, and they're, you know, very tall. They look different. They actually have like a Belter Cajun dialect where, you know, they make a lot of references to, you know, spaceport and thing. All right, so here's some Cajun Belter dialect from early in the book. And then it was all pow, room full up with playboys howling and humping shank, said a girl waving a hand. Look like a dance number, except that Bommy's got this look, and he don't know nothing, never, ever, amen. You know, Kay? So it's really interesting, you know, the whole dialect that they've proposed through there, and Belters have become their own culture, and people from Earth and Mars, they're very different cultures as well. Mars is very technologically advanced, but they're trying to terraform Mars, and they really want Mars to be its own place, and they don't like Earth anymore. They get mad at people from Earth, and people from Earth have a very different culture because they're so overcrowded, and that's why people are going out into the belt and the asteroids and stuff. So it's really neat to see the way that they talk to one another, but it's also a really interesting look on, you know, the way people are treated when they're exposed to different circumstances. And it's interesting to see the racism of the book because you look at, you know, in the United States, at least that I've noticed, it's more along a financial situation. You see people who are poorer usually looked down by people that are more affluent. And I see a lot of that when I hear people speak of like the British subset of culture where they talk about class. We don't really talk about it so much here in the US, but you do kind of talk about the middle class and, you know, the lower class and all those things. So it's interesting to see that dynamic put into space. When we move into space, are we still going to feel the same way? Are we still going to treat others the same way? For me, my favorite character was Miller. He was really interesting. He goes through some crazy stuff as he went through the different parts of the story, and it was really cool to see him evolve and how he looked at, you know, he was read with his status quo, and he had a status quo for years that he just evaluated and was like, okay, you know, everything on this station, I've lived here my whole life, it's the way it's going to be, it's the only way that it is, and he kind of moves through and changes really as he's looking for Julie and finding her. And it was really interesting to see the way that, you know, he looked at Julie, who was somebody who he thought was, you know, rich and nice because her parents came from a rich, fancy area, and then as he got to know her, studying her history, looking through her, the way that she dealt with the world and how she came from very rich Luna, which is, you know, our moon, and then moved to Ceres in the outer belt. And then she was able to come and really understand the people of the belt and join the OPA, which is more like a terrorist organization. Kind of like when you think of Star Wars, you think of the rebels, but in real life they would be like terrorists. They'd be freedom fighters. They're, you know, creating a war, starting a war. And so when you see that, you understand more of the dynamic where you look at and you say, okay, you know, these people are fighting for what they believe in, but they're breaking the law. They're creating havoc. They're doing all these things, and they're not nice people when they do it. They're definitely violent and angry people, and so you don't want those people hanging around, because they're, you know, going to attract all the people who, you know, have a grudge or have an issue. I do like Holden as well too. He's very naive, even though he was in the U.S. Navy. He moved to the belt as an Earther, is what, you know, they give everybody kind of these nicknames. And when he moved from Earth into the belt and talked to people in the belt, he didn't really understand the culture because he didn't grow up there. He grew up on Earth, and he thinks, you know, oh, if you give everybody the facts, they're just gonna do the right thing. They're just, you know, and he's by proxy creating all kinds of havoc that he shouldn't create, because he decided that he just wants to tell everybody the truth. And when he does that, he starts all this kind of craziness. And Miller, when they finally meet up, he tells James Holden, he's like, look, you have to stop doing these things. You can't just give everybody all the information and hope they're just going to do the right thing, because bad people are going to take that information and use it to do bad things. And people who want to do the right thing are going to take it and go, well, you know, this is our only option. This is the only thing we can do here. And he uses a detective mantra to kind of say, look, you know, I knew this guy probably killed his daughter. And then all of a sudden we get this information a couple weeks later, and it's found out that he didn't do it. But if we went and we said this guy killed his daughter, he would have been killed himself. And so we needed to hold the information until we knew what it really meant, and then distribute it well. And that was a huge part of the story as well, because false information created a scenario where violence happened because false information was spread. You guys got to check this book out. I think it's amazing. The characters are good, the story is good, the plot is good, the science fiction is good. I think it's one of those books that really change the dynamic of, you know, science fiction. It changes the way that we want to design science fiction. It's a more realistic take on a fantasy scenario where science is added to it and enriches it, and it makes it better, and I love that. I hope that you guys check out Bookie Club. We're starting Dune today. Today is Saturday. I'm going to post this tomorrow. And hopefully you guys join Bookie Club and join Dune with us. It's another book that is wonderful, deep in lore through science fiction. They go from a planet called Arrakis, and there's the spice melange, and it does some crazy things, turns your eyes blue. It's a huge desert planet, really cool, interesting scenario where they reclaim water. I think that was probably my favorite part growing up as a kid. I read it when I was about 16. And reading it again with Nikki, and we're going to do that on the book club, Bookie Club. Follow the link in the description. It's going to be amazing. I want you guys to follow me on social media as well. I would love to talk more on Twitter, Discord, Goodreads, all those places. I try to stay as active as possible, and we'll see you next time, guys. Bye.